Hello friends, good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to be part of this very important event, that is International Short-Term Training Program on Environmental Toxicology and Wildlife Conservation. I'm very much thankful to the organizers of this short-term program for giving me this opportunity to be a part of the event. It is really a welcome venture, and definitely the trainees and all kinds of participants and the trainers will equally be benefited by this program. I am thankful to the organizers, particularly Dr. Mamta Sharma, who has been taking all pains all along this preparatory phase of the short-term program, and definitely uh, the resolutions and the training outputs will be of very uh, great importance to all of us. See, when we talk of wildlife, the general concept is that of huge, large animals, mammoth, elephants, tigers, or huge trees. That is the general concept. I am focusing on a different issue, that is lesser known aquatic fauna and its conservation. Why? Because this is a field which is lesser recognized, lesser importance that has been given to this theme, and even keen biologists, they do not consider it as a very important component of wildlife. To many, as I mentioned, wildlife is only large land animals and trees alone. Aquatic organisms are often not appreciated as wildlife. In US as well, you will find wildlife board and fish board different. Fish is not included in wildlife there. So such kind of discrepancies are there, but we all know as biologists that how important are all kinds of organisms that inhabit this planet. May however be threatened, these are not included in any conservation program. That is very important. Of course, aquatic organisms are very important, but these are often ignored. When we talk of life in water, to many, it is restricted to fish, frog, turtles, and crocodiles. Minute planktonic and benthic forms are often neglected in this context. We are not concerned about very minute forms which are not visible to our naked eye, and we often ignore their role as well in nature. In fact, they play a very important crucial role in energy flow and material cycle in an aquatic ecosystem. See, had there been no phytoplankton, no aquatic food chain was possible, particularly the herbivore food chain if you discuss. Similarly, the small zooplankton or the benthic forms are very important, and many of them, I would like to underline, are at the risk of extinction, which no one takes notice of because of different features. See, when you talk of water on Earth, much of this water, as you know, is present in the form of sea water, that is saline water in 97% of oceans, and only 3% is present as fresh water. And out of this 3%, you'll find that fresh water, much of it is ice caps and glaciers, that is about 69%, and the rest as groundwater or surface water. Surface water constitutes only 0.3% of this 3% freshwater component. And of this surface water, that is 0.3% only, you will find much of it is stored in lakes, some in swamps, and very little in the form of rivers. We have a variety of aquatic ecosystems in which we find this surface water. But as you talk of water, it is often regarded as H2O scientifically, but natural water is never pure H2O. It always has H2O plus XYZ. This XYZ could be suspended or dissolved material, and this XYZ determines the quality of water. Because, from the sediments, from the catchment, not much of suspended and dissolved matter gets into natural waters. And this XYZ, as I have mentioned in this slide, this forms the basis of the quality of water. And of course, this XYZ or whatsoever suspended or dissolved matter is there, be it in gaseous form or in solid form, is very important for the living beings in water. Types of aquatic ecosystems, particularly freshwater ecosystems, if you discuss, are found on this earth, man-made as well as natural ones. This is a general picture of a temple tank, a common scene of a village pond shared by cattle and men equally. This is a natural lake or a reservoir impounded, storing canal or river water. This is a canal ecosystem carrying water from some reservoir or from a riverine source. And there are many other small pools, puddles. They also constitute very important aquatic ecosystems. As we talk of life in water, particularly fresh water, see, we can segregate it into flora and fauna. The flora basically include macrophytes, which are visible to naked eye. Most of them are rooted ones. And there are phytoplankton. It is a very thin population, but very diverse one. Hundreds and thousands of plankton species are found belonging to different algal groups, may it be chlorophyta, cyanophyta, basilarophyta, and so on. Then if you talk of fauna in water, ecologically it could be nekton. These are infrequent, of course, like small fishes and frogs. But if you talk of diversity, in freshwater you will find a very, very great variety of zooplankton. The population may be thin, but is diverse. And at the same time, many organisms are found as benthos, maybe as adult or their larval forms. I'm not going to discuss the different groups of animals that constitute zooplankton, but particularly you'll find rotifers, protozoans, and microcrustaceans. These constitute major zooplankton in an aquatic ecosystem, particularly the freshwater one. What decides the diversity? What decides the population? What decides the productivity in an aquatic ecosystem include ionic regime. See, the ionic regime in the form of cations or anions, they are very important so far as the life in water is concerned, and it influences planktonic component at large. Succession in community is seen with the concentration of the medium. That is very important. Again, coming down to ionic regime, see, stagnant waters, particularly during summer season, they get concentrated because of high rate of evaporation, and this concentration phenomenon brings about changes in the electrical conductance and the salinity of water, influencing indirectly the solubility of gases and so the life in water. If you talk of plankton, diatoms and copepods, these are most hardy and they can tolerate to to high level of electrolyte concentration or may be found in high salinity environments. Such sort of situations are often encountered in areas like Indian desert, wherein the insolation is very strong, rate of evaporation is very high, thermal extremes are there, and because of this, and particularly since the water is scarce and shallow, it gets greatly influenced by the concentration phenomenon, particularly during summer, and so the electrolyte concentration goes high and influences the biotic component. This I am giving you an example, which of course is a model. This is of Indian desert, in which in aquatic forms you will find 44% vertebrate species and 194, that is 56% 56% invertebrate fauna. If you talk of invertebrate species, the major component is the crustacean ones, followed by protozoans. Then, of course, there are nematodes, rotifers, annelids, arachnids, insects, and to some extent porifers as well. Among vertebrates, fish constitutes the major chunk, that is 94% of diversity is shared by fish fauna, followed by a few amphibians and a very small number of reptiles, that are crocodiles and chelonians. This is relating to commercial fishes. Of course, I am not going to discuss all these things. Friends, see, whether it is in reservoir or in a village pond or in a lake, it is all fresh water. But the volume of water and then associated factors, they greatly influence the ecology of that given environment. And that is the reason why the greatest diversity of invertebrate fauna is found in village ponds. Why? These are shallow, rich in organic matter, and provide variety of microenvironments. At the same time, if you talk of vertebrates, lakes are richest in it, followed by canals and village ponds. I am giving you a few examples, and particularly of planktonic forms, and of course a few mollusks. They also act as very important bioindicators. Bioindicators, why? Because if that is a relatively new approach when we determine the quality of an environment making use of biological tools. And so we have tried to make to collaborate the things with species abundance, diversity, absence or presence, and so on. And accordingly, looking into large number of physical chemical parameters, and at the same time the population of plants and animals studied over a very long time, we can determine that yes, this is a species which can be well used as bioindicator of a given environmental condition. I have given you an example here of Euglena sociabilis. It is found in blooms in the conditions when the environment is poor in dissolved oxygen. It is very rich in organic matter. Free carbon dioxide is high. And to say that in polluted environments, particularly if the pollution is of organic origin, this protozoan is found in a very rich number and is indicative of that condition. Similarly, this is Paramecium chordatum, a ciliate, which also reflects the same environmental conditions, that is of low dissolved oxygen, less than 1 milligram per liter, high organic matter, high free carbon dioxide, that is exceeding 15 milligram per liter, and so on. Yes, friends, many biologists even ignore this kind of fauna. This is a freshwater sponge found in lakes, reservoirs, uh, ponds, puddles, everywhere, but is often ignored. Why? Because it is sessile, often not appreciated as an animal. Unapis carteri is the most common freshwater sponge in the country, and it is found in very clean environments where the dissolved oxygen is more than 3.5 milligram per liter. If the water is polluted, no freshwater sponge will be found. Water has to be poor in organic contents. It should have no free carbon dioxide or very little one. And particularly, it is found in alkaline environments where the pH has to be more than 8.5. And we have encountered such sponges in different environments. And me, during survey of Rajasthan and Gujarat freshwaters, about 200 plus bodies of water, we have recorded 9 species of freshwater sponges in this region. This again is Unapis carteri, found on the banks or the wall of a lake, and is also associated with the roots of ficus that are uh, getting down into water. This is a closer view of Unapis carteri, rich in gemmules. You know, freshwater gemmules have asexual reproductive bodies called gemmules. This is a freshwater sponge rich in gemmules, as you see here. This is the only species I could find of coelenterate in Rajasthan and Gujarat waters. Hydra vulgaris. No other coelenterate I could come across. A bryozoan, again from water from close to Bikaner. I couldn't identify this species. Even Zoological Survey of India people couldn't help me to identify this bryozoan. See, as I mentioned, that many forms are found in larval stages in aquatic environments, and this is one of them, a trematode larva, Furcocircus cercari, and its very popular host is Endoplenornis exustus, a gastropod. And this is very frequent. This cercaria is very frequent occurring in Endoplenornis exustus, and of course, to some extent, in other snails like Limnia and Bellania. Keratella tropica is one of the common rotifer representatives. It's very common among waters, particularly which are polluted ones. You know, rotifers are considered to be the best indicators of pollution in fresh water. So is true with this Keratella tropica. If the oxygen is low, that is less than 1.5 milligram per liter, water is rich in carbon dioxide, free carbon dioxide level is high. Under such environments, you'll find a very rich population of rotifers, and this is one representative. This is one representative of a leech, that is Alboglossiphonia weberi. Variety of leeches are found in fresh waters. See, for a common man, a leech is one that is found attached to some cattle or some larger animals. But no, there are leeches which are not sagrivorous as well. These are found attached to some stones, surfaces, plants, and they feed upon detritus. So these are detritivore leeches which are often ignored, and more than 11 species we have recorded from the region of Rajasthan and Gujarat. Streptocephalus dichotomus, a small crustacean seen upside down swimming, beautiful in swamps. And yes, this is a very important species found in restricted areas, endangered, not common, found only in saline environments. It used to occur in 1958 in Summer Lake, but now it is not found in Summer Lake as well, and a few small populations are restricted to the coastal areas, and in Rajasthan it is found only in Ridwana Lake. This brine shrimp Artemia salina is characteristic in the form that it can withstand a salinity up to 200 ppt, that is 200 gram per liter. No other species can survive at this high salinity. It is the characteristic osmoregulatory procedure that it follows and how it maintains. It's very difficult to understand, but this shrimp is found only at the salinity ranging from 30 to 200 gram per liter in water. And this is a very important uh, organism in the form that its cysts are very costly. These are exported and are used to be a very good live food for aquaculture. You see, its uh, cysts are like seeds, have a shelf life of over 20 years. You collect the cysts, store them. Whenever you feel like having young Artemia, you rinse them in water, aerate it, and you will find nuclei coming out of those cysts. So such a unique feature is very rare among animals and among animal kingdom. This is a very rare species, Triops. See, this crustacean is very rare, not found in most of the waters, and I could find this species only in a single lake, that is Garsisar in Jaisalmer. So, and it is also very important from evolutionary point of view if you study it. Chironomids, these are the larvae of midges, and you see these are indicators of organic pollution. The only creature among insects that has hemoglobin as respiratory pigment, so as to make use of whatsoever little oxygen it has got at its disposal. It is found in muddy uh, bottoms of freshwater bodies which are rich in organic matter, poor in dissolved oxygen, and so on. This is not very important, of course. It is a comparison of bugs and beetles in water. And these are a few mollusks which are found in fresh waters of this Indian desert region. See, their thermal tolerance is different in desert as compared to those in benign environments. Say, the Indoplain orbis of Rajasthan has got a different tolerance for temperature as compared to those from Madhya Pradesh or some benign environments. Same is true for Bellamia bengalensis. This is again a gastropod. Another gastropod, that is Limnia, then Lamellidens. See, it is a very good example of cohabitation. You see, this is a mollusk, Bellamia bengalensis, covered by cladophora, that is algae, filamentous algae, and other algae are also there, and they provide a very interesting environment so far as uh, rotifers, protozoans, microcrustaceans are there. They inhibit these cladophoran filaments, and you see this gastropod provides mobility to algal filaments and the bottom of the water body. Now, to coming down to the points of stress, why do we discuss all these things? Are aquatic organisms having any stress or threat? And if so, what measures we can use to conserve them? See, as we all know, species is not a static unit. It is a dynamic unit. Once exhausted, we will never get it. We have a concern for tigers. We have a concern for leopards and larger animals, but hardly we think that if a sponge species is lost, where from we will get it. So that is my concern, friends. Freshwater organisms are much influenced by threats like thermal extremes. Shallow waters in particular are much influenced by winter and summer temperatures. Many uh, organisms are ephemeral in nature, as the small water bodies they observe long dry periods. They protect themselves either by hibernation or estivation or by producing some propagules which are hardy enough to resist to the given conditions. Some cysts, some hardy eggs, and other forms through which they just pass on the long dry periods. And once they get back the water, they come into as adults or young ones. Saline, alkaline, and hard conditions. These are particularly found in desert areas. So when the water gets concentrated, it becomes more saline, more alkaline, and more hard. Uh, and that is a stressful condition for most of the species. And the solubility of gases is inversely proportional to temperature. So as the temperature rises, the water becomes deficient in oxygen and other gases. So is the reason why at times there is a large scale death of fish in a body of water, not because of temperature, but because of low oxygen level in the water. As you talk of threats, the change in water use pattern. See, already wherever the water is less and it is being used for the purposes for which it was not meant, like sometimes the water is just filled into tankers and taken away, and small water bodies like pools and puddles, they just get dried up. The catchment area degradation or reduction is also very important. Now you see with the increase in industrialization, urbanization and agriculture, you find most of the catchment area is preoccupied by other structures uh, that restrict the flow of water in a body, and this leads to a poor influx and a poor retention, and as a result there are long dry periods in a body of water. That's why I mentioned that long dry spells. Then qualitative degradation of water is another factor. You see, water is considered to be the best solution to pollution. Why? Because we feel that you put anything in water, it will get diluted and we get rid of it. And with this set of mind, much pollution burden is often exercised in bodies of water, may it be a lake or a river or a canal. Then there is risk from fresh invasions, that is predators or parasites. These are competitors. When we see that the waters of Indian desert, certain species were not found some 50 years back here, but with the introduction of canal network, many exotic species have come into picture, and some of the species are introduced as well, like of tilapia, which was introduced in these lakes so as to have a good fetch, but at the same time it proved to be very very hazardous. So that has to be a very serious concern if you talk of uh, exotic species. See, when we talk of conservation needs and measures, that is what this workshop is focused on, that how we can conserve wildlife. Again, I am coming down to that picture. Yes, this too is wildlife and deserves utmost conservation. And that is possible through judicious water use, because water is life support system for the aquatic organisms. It is not just a resource. They would survive without water, whatsoever aquatic biota is there. Then Stress on catchment area management. We'll have to observe that these catchments of any body of water are not enclosed by human settlements like agriculture or industrial ones. Qualitative upkeep of waters is again very important. We'll have to see that no body of water is polluted through any source, may it be a point source or non-point source, natural or anthropogenic one. So that has to be observed. And as I mentioned, at times exotic species are highly hazardous to the local fauna and flora. So we'll have to take care of that no exotics are introduced without having sound ecological consideration. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I again express my thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to discuss and have my views with the audience. Thank you very much.